So, today we are going to study the Transfer of Property Act. Definition of property law. So, today I will start with the basic definition of property law, which is property law is about rules that defines who owns something, who they can use it, and how they can transfer it to others. As I have written this in legal language, property law is a branch of law that governs who owns what, how they can use it, and how they can transfer it to others. It applies to tangible items like land, houses, or cars, intangible assets like patents, copyrights, or shares. The law ensures ownership is protected, disputes are resolved, and transactions are carried out fairly. So, basically, in this definition of property law, we are going to understand what is property law. Uh, it is something that we own and use it, and we can transfer it also. The tangible items like land, houses, cars, and intangible assets क्या होते हैं? Patents, copyrights और shares. लॉ इंश्योर करता है जो ओनरशिप है वो प्रोटेक्टेड रहे और ट्रांजैक्शंस जो हो स्मूथली हो. दिस इज द डेफिनेशन ऑफ प्रॉपर्टी लॉ. Types of property. As we can see, we will learn only 4 properties as an important types of property in our classes, but I will teach you the 8 types of property which is very important to know. The first one is movable property. Second is immovable property. Third is tangible property. Fourth is intangible property. Fifth is real property. Sixth is personal property. Seventh is public property. And eighth is private property. In the next slide, we will learn about it in detail. In this slide, we are going to learn about all the 8 types of property which I am going to explain. The first is, let's talk about the types of property. Property can be classified based on its nature and use. Here are the main types: movable and immovable property. First, we have movable property, which includes things that can be moved like cars, furnitures and jewelries. ऐसी चीजें जो हम मूव कर सकते हैं जैसे कि कार, फर्नीचर और ज्वेलरी. On the other hand, immovable property refers to things like land and building that stay fixed in one place. For example, your house is immovable property. Third, tangible and intangible property. Tangible property includes physical objects you can see and touch like books or a car. Intangible property includes non-physical items with value like copyrights or patents. For example, if you invent a gadget, the patent is your intangible property. Fourth, real and personal property. Real property refers to land and anything permanently attached to it, such as buildings or trees. Personal property refers to movable items that are not attached to land, like your television or phone. Fifth, public and private property. Public property is owned by the government for public use such. Why is property law important? First, protects ownership rights. Property law ensures that your property is protected. प्रॉपर्टी लॉ इंश्योर करती है कि आपकी प्रॉपर्टी जो है वो प्रोटेक्टेड है. If you own something like a house or a car, Property law makes sure that no one can take it from you without your permission unless the law allows it, like in cases of land for public use. Second, regulates buying and selling. Property law also helps people buy and sell property. प्रॉपर्टी लॉ पीपल्स को हेल्प करता है कि वो बाय और सेल कर सके प्रॉपर्टी को, जिसे जनरली हम करते हैं in our daily lives. If you want to buy a house, property law ensures the process is fair and that the person selling the house actually owns it. It means कि अगर आप एक घर खरीद रहे हैं, you are buying a house, तो वो जो प्रोसेस है घर खरीदने का वो फेयर हो, और जो वो प्रॉपर्टी बेच रहा है, वो हाउस बेच रहा है, वो सेलर जो है वो सच में वो प्रॉपर्टी उसकी हो, ये मेक श्योर करता है प्रॉपर्टी लॉ। इसलिए ये प्रॉपर्टी लॉ इम्पॉर्टेंट है। इट मेक्स श्योर दैट द सेल इज लीगल एंड दैट बोथ पार्टीज आर प्रोटेक्टेड फ्रॉम फ्रॉड। फ्रॉड से प्रोटेक्शन करता है। थर्ड, solves property disputes. Sometimes people argue about property. Who owns it? How should it be shared? Property law helps settle these disputes fairly. For example, if two peoples claim the same piece of land, property law helps decide who has the right to own it. Okay, and property law affects us every day in many ways. For example, when you rent a house, property law ensures that the landlord both have rights and responsibilities. You, when you inherit property from your parents or relatives, property law decides how the property should be shared among family members. When you buy a car or a house, property law ensures that the ownership of the car or house is properly transferred to you. Without property law, there would be confusion about who owns what and how property can be used or sold. So now we have reached to the last slide of our property law explanation. So at last I'm going to explain you the case law, very important case law to understand property law, which is K.K. Verma versus Union of India 1954. In this case, K.K. Verma disagreed with the government because they wanted to take his land to build a road. The government has the right to take someone's land if it's for public purpose, like building roads, hospitals, or schools. This right is called eminent domain. Eminent domain, but the law says that if the government takes someone's land, they must pay the person a fair amount of money called compensation, which we can see in our locality. It happens sometimes that government तोड़ देती है घरों को कि वहाँ पर उनको रोड बनानी है या कुछ भी पब्लिक सर्विस के लिए कुछ चीज़ें बिल्ड करनी है, तो वो चीज़ें तोड़ देते हैं, स्पेशली हाउसेस जो छोटे छोटे जो वो पब्लिक की चीज़ें बनाने में इंटरप्ट कर रही हैं। तो और लेकिन उसके लिए लोगों को कंपनसेशन भी मिलता है, पैसे भी मिलते हैं, जो हमने ऐसे देखा हुआ है जनरली। सो इन दिस केस यही चीज़ें हुई हैं ये के वर्मा के साथ। The court allowed the government to take the land for the road project because it was for the public good. Public good के लिए गवर्नमेंट ने भी अप्रूव कर दिया इस चीज़ को। However, the court made sure that the government had to pay fair compensation to the landowner. तो लेकिन गवर्नमेंट ने ये कोर्ट ने ये इंश्योर किया कि गवर्नमेंट जो है वो फेयर कंपनसेशन दे उस लैंड ओनर को This means the person whose land is taken should be paid fairly based on the value of the land. Example to understand it: imagine you have a piece of land and the government wants to build a new road through it. Since this road will help many people, the government has the right to take your land, but the law says the government has to pay you enough money to make up for the land you are losing. They can't just take it without giving you a fair amount of money. For example, if the land is worth rupees 10 lakhs, the government will offer you money that's close to that value, maybe 12 lakhs, to make sure you are not losing out financially. Why it's important? The government can take your land if it's needed for public projects like road or schools, but they must pay you fairly. This case helps protect your property rights while also allowing the government to do things that benefit everyone. Thank you.